Right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. Okay, alright, I'm going to share my screen. First of all, thank you, Brother Shahran, for the introduction and also for this opportunity. And to all brothers and sisters, Alhamdulillah, we have 7 of us tonight. Yeah, inshallah. Okay. Right. Okay. Alright. Okay. Inshallah, for today, we will discuss on the conventional understanding of worldview and epistemology. And as we go, okay, actually this is our 4th module, okay, on this subject. We already covered on the introduction and the meaning and also the explanation of development management, the conventional view and also the basic of Islamic view and the basic principles of Islamic development management. Okay, and for today, for our 4th class, we will discuss on the conventional understanding of worldview and epistemology, because after this we will focus our discussion straight on Islamic worldview as the mode of development management. Okay, and also next, Islamic epistemology as the absolute source of knowledge for development management. And later we will discuss on contemporary issues of development management pertaining the worldview issues and also the epistemological issues. Okay. And as we have rest for about a month, so I guess our date will have will be different from the original one. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, it will end on the 21st of October, inshallah. Okay, inshallah. And just to inform, as I have told before, that this title is actually one of our textbook project with IIIT. One of the 6 books. Okay, one of the 6 books that is received from IIIT. And the first one, Islamic Epistemology and Worldview for Development Management. Okay, which is being led by me, and I have also another one, the Management of Islamic Institutions. Besides these 2, we have Islamic Political Economy, Islamic Asset Development Management, Islamic Base Development, and also Islamic Research Methodology. There are 6 books altogether. Okay, so for today's discussion will be a very basic one. Okay, to discuss on worldview and also epistemology, the conventional thinking, before we go to the Islamic thinking, and whereby we look into what is the very basic of Islamic development management from the worldview and also epistemological aspects. Okay, so worldview, okay, coming from the world, okay, the word worldview, sometimes people interchangeably use the hyphenated or a two-letter word in English. There are also another word which represent worldview in Germany. They call Weltanschauung. Sometimes we also use this word in English literature, Weltanschauung. And basically, okay, worldview is, this is from Sigmund Freud, where they collected his work into the book New Introductory Lectures in Psychoanalysis, which was published in 1990, where he stated that worldview is actually an intellectual construction which solves all the problems of our existence uniformly on the basis of one overriding hypothesis, which accordingly leaves no questions unanswered, and in which everything that interests us takes place. Okay, and to make it simple, okay, the common definition. Sorry, I already off this. Okay. All right. The common definition where you can find in dictionary, in encyclopedia, is a set of presuppositions which we hold, okay, about the makeup of our world. I think this is from the Dictionary of Philosophy. Particular philosophy of life, a concept of the world held by an individual or a group. This definition comes from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. The way of understanding what the world is and how it works. Okay, and an interpretive understanding a person reaches after reflecting on his or her experience of the world. Basically, in general, we can always say that worldview is actually how we view the world, okay, how we view the world, how people view the world. And basically, there are a lot of views on how people look at the world, okay, and sometimes maybe it comes from the existing reality, what has been experienced by an individual or the group of people, and what has been experienced in the life of this individual and also the group of people. Okay, these are basically the discussion in the Western worldview. In fact, this worldview, the worldview that has been upheld by the Western society, even sometimes contradict with a few indigenous worldview from some of the parts of the world. Okay, and of course, it is also contradict with Islamic worldview, whereby because it too focus on the existing reality, on what people has experienced and what has people experienced in life before. So the worldview sometimes ignore the unseen world. This is what happening in the Western worldview, especially, and of course, the hereafter. So since worldview is the assumptions that has been experienced by someone or a group of people. So what the things that cannot be seen, or the thing that is outside of what has been experienced, is sometimes cannot be understood, and therefore is seldom discussed. Okay, and sometimes the worldview raise very big questions. Okay, very big questions. For example, theological questions such as the existence, the nature, and the works of God. There are big discussions on in Western worldview, okay, on what is God and what is He like, okay. The metaphysical questions, the ontological questions on what is real and the ultimate reality, okay, including the inquiry about reality, the nature of evil, okay, and epistemological questions such as the possibility, the sources, the nature, the justification and goals of knowledge. What is actually can be assumed as the truth, okay. The cosmological questions, the origin, the nature, the destiny of universe, why something is here and rather than nothing at all, okay. Anthropological questions and also ethical questions. So from experience, from the existing reality, okay, from human life, the worldview is being developed, okay, and as the worldview is being developed, raise big questions on the very basic aspects of philosophy, the theological aspects, the theological questions, which questions on the existence and the reality, okay, about knowledge and everything. So this has been discussed, and usually those the worldview that can come up with a good discussion or good answers to these questions are usually will be the main worldview that is being upheld by the Western society. Okay, and sometimes it remains debatable issues. Okay. Epistemology, okay, the epistemology and in conventional thinking, okay, basically epistemology, as we know, I think most of us have known, is a theory of knowledge, okay, where it covers the study of nature, origin, limits of human knowledge, okay. And the term is derived from a Greek term, yeah, from knowledge, from the word epistem and also logos, where it comes epistemology, reason or a study, okay, and therefore it is called the theory of knowledge, okay, epistemology, the theory of knowledge. So epistemology and worldview have a direct relationship. Some may, some opinion says that from the epistemological foundation, the worldview is being developed, and some also hold that from a worldview, okay, we develop on how we perceive knowledge, the nature, the origin, the limits of human knowledge, okay. And basically the dominant one is from the epistemology, we develop the worldview, okay. All right. What is being defined by philosophers, okay, on epistemology? What do the early philosophers define epistemology? We look at Plato. Plato is one of the earliest philosopher, okay, after Socrates. He's a student of Socrates actually, and according to him, okay, epistemology is an attempt to understand what it was to know and how knowledge is good for the knower. Okay, and Locke, a more later philosopher, okay, defined epistemology as an attempt to understand the operations of human understanding. Okay, Kant, after a few hundred years, okay, an attempt to understand the conditions of the possibility of human understanding, and Russell, an attempt to understand how modern science could be justified by appeal to sensory experience. Okay, basically, most of them perceive epistemology as the operations on how humans come to understanding. Okay, and every one of them discuss or relate epistemology as how knowledge is being acquired by human. Okay, all right. So the very basic discussion on epistemology is actually the study of knowledge, and also there are two discussions: study of knowledge and justified belief. Okay, justified belief. Justified true belief, actually. Justified true belief. Okay. On knowledge, if you can recall, or if you can look back into the recordings in my earlier lecture, I did give the definition of knowledge from Muhammad Naqib Al-Atas and also a few of our Islamic scholars. But what does the early Western philosophers define knowledge? If Plato, he defined knowledge as knowledge is merely an awareness of absolute universal ideas or forms existing independent of any subject trying to apprehend to them. Aristotle, which is the student of Plato, okay, defined knowledge as an apprehension of necessary and universal principles. Okay, and Kant, okay, Kant defined knowledge as the result from the organization of perceptual data on the basis of inborn cognitive structures. Okay, and this is called categories, which include space, time, objects, anything. Okay, anything that could be perceived and being organized by human. Okay. When discussing on the study of knowledge, usually this is from rules actually. We discuss among others, the sources of knowledge, the limits of knowledge, the structure of knowledge, and the conditions of knowledge. Basically, there are also discussions on the value of knowledge, how a certain knowledge is being developed and also being modified and later on being changed into entirely another theory. Okay, that will be the basic of epistemology. So if this is the case, what is actually the problem of the Western epistemology? The problem of the Western epistemology can be rooted from how they put the approach in acquiring knowledge. Okay, the approach in acquiring knowledge. So in Western philosophy, we have earlier we have two main epistemological positions in philosophy. That is empiricism and also rationalism. Okay, empiricism is actually the product of sensory perception, where you can perceive something empirically, yeah, from your senses, and while rationalism, okay, is knowledge as the product of rational reflection. Only lately, starting around 1800, okay, 1800, 1700, there's a new approach in epistemology which we call pragmatism, which take into account a more personal, practical approach. Okay, the knowledge as the product of personal and practical application, human personal and practical application. So basically, we have three dominant main approaches in the Western or conventional epistemology, and this approach create almost every theories and models that is being developed from the Western scholars. Okay, and the main contradiction, okay, the main contradiction of the Western epistemology to as compared to Islamic epistemology is actually here. Okay, the sources of knowledge. Okay, the sources of knowledge in the Western world, okay, in the conventional epistemology, whereby they have two, yeah, where we discussed just now from the two main approach, the empiricism, where sources of knowledge is from the perception faculties, the five senses, okay, the five senses, the sight, the touch, the hearing, the smelling, and also the tasting. And the second main one is reason. Okay, reason, where beliefs appear to be justified solely by the use of human reason, human logic. And from there comes another three sources: introspection, where after we have perceived a certain state, okay, thirst, tiredness, excitement, depression, and we have registered that state in our mental. So this is called introspection knowledge, okay? And memory. Memory is the capacity to retain knowledge, yeah, acquired in the memory past, what someone could remember. And sometimes there are also opinion where memory, knowledge from memory include also some knowledge that is in the memory of an individual, even though it has not happened in the past. Okay, there are a few discussion on that. And testimony is based on someone else's knowledge. So these are the main and also the sources of knowledge. Okay, the sources of knowledge that is being universally accepted from the Western or conventional epistemological understanding. Okay, and from perception comes the empiricism approach, and from reason comes the rationalism approach. Okay. From there also, we have a very famous term in epistemology, which is a priori and a posteriori. Okay, a priori comes from the prior, which defined as some knowledge which is independent of experience. It comes before someone experience something. So it is purely internal source of knowledge. Okay, this can be related to the rationalism approach. Okay, the reason, while a posteriori, well, if we come from science background, we can relate this to our posterior bones, right? Posterior meaning back. For this, for the epistemology discussion, it means that it comes after experience. So this can be related to the empiricism approach, the empiricism type, and the empiricism position of conventional epistemology. Okay, a priori, where the knowledge is independent of experience. Okay, and a posteriori, it is dependent on experience. Both create a very major dominant approach in the conventional epistemology. Okay, another I think quite big discussion in the conventional epistemology is that the definition of knowledge is related to justified through belief. Okay, the definition of knowledge is related to justified through belief. This has been okay. This is there's a spelling mistake here. Blackburn, actually, Blackburn, in his book where he referred to Plato. Well, it is true that Plato, in his earlier age, he did say relate knowledge as justified through belief, but later, after a few years, he dismissed that opinion. Okay, what is being meant by justified through belief is that is being upheld by the conventional epistemology. Okay, knowledge or some things can only be perceived as knowledge if it is being, if only it can be justified. If only it can be justified. Okay, be it the truth or be it something that is being believed by an individual or a group of people. So, meaning, okay, meaning, even though something is true or something is the truth, if it is cannot justify, if it is if we cannot justify that thing, so it is not considered as knowledge. Okay, in this Venn figure, okay, if we have here truth, and if we have here belief, okay, our belief, and this one is the truth. Okay, if the truth is being believed by a group of people or by individual, it is termed as or it is known as blind faith. Okay, blind faith, because it is not justified. It cannot be justified. So not only it is blind faith, it is also not considered as knowledge from the conventional view of epistemology. Okay. If the truth can be justified, but it is not being believed by anyone, so it is considered that it is the things that actually we should believe, but we don't believe. Okay, the truth that is not being taken into account by anyone, even though it is being justified. Okay, and the third one is something that is being upheld as a belief by someone, by a group of people, but it is not the truth. Okay, here. Okay, at the area number 3. Okay, so it can be justified, but it is not the truth. So this is also not considered as knowledge from the conventional point of view. The ones that is being considered as knowledge is only the ones that is being considered the truth and can be believed and can be justified. So therefore, justified true belief, JTB here, is actually a very big concept in the conventional epistemology. And with this, okay, the knowledge which cannot be justified, what are the things that can justify something? Okay, the justification depends on what has been perceived as the source of knowledge. Okay, if the truth can be perceived by any of our senses, okay, perception, okay, then it is said as can be justified. If any one of our beliefs, okay, can be sensed by one of our perception, okay, one of our senses, then it is said as can be justified. Okay. What are the other justification? Reasons. Okay, reasons. If the truth, okay, is said to be logical, then it is said as justified. Only then it is considered as knowledge. Okay, that is what is being upheld in the conventional epistemology. So from this, we can come to understand that things that cannot be justified, that cannot be perceived by our senses, that cannot be reasoned, or that is illogical from the human perspective, is considered as not considered as knowledge. For example, life after death, okay, life in the hereafter, even life in the barzakh world. As no one has experienced it, no one have the ability to perceive this, so it is not considered as knowledge in the Western world, in the Western epistemology. Sometimes it also include on our iman, our desires, our nafs, as it cannot be perceived by our senses. Sometimes such thing is considered as not considered as knowledge. Okay, and this happen in many aspects of social science discipline. Okay, social science discipline, where we always research on something that can be measured, that is tangible, so also that can be justified. Okay, all right. However, even the justified true belief concept that is being discussed by the majority of the Western or conventional epistemology scholars is also being criticized from mainly Edward Gettier, where he said that okay, this is the image from Plato. Okay, knowledge is justified through belief, and he said that I don't think so. He gave an example on two persons, okay, applying for a job interview, but I think it would be easier to understand from this simpler case of Gettier problem. Okay, in epistemology, this is being discussed as a Gettier problem. Okay, where from here, someone named Smith looked at the clock and he came to believe that it is 3 o'clock. Okay, it is 3 o'clock. But because from reason, he knows that looking at the clock is a good way to tell the time. What is the time now? Okay, that is being believed. Okay, and it has been experienced. It has been perceived from before. Okay, from just looking at the clock, we can know the time. Okay, but does Smith really know the time? This is the concept where they debate on justified true belief. Okay, the justified belief is that from what we've been through, from the reason, from the perception, we know that from looking at the clock, we know it. We can tell the time. Okay, but however, the clock here, okay, from the Gettier example, the clock here is being broken, has been broken, okay, and accidentally, it is broken 12 hours ago, okay, 12 hours ago. So, even though it is actually, the truth is, it is actually 3 o'clock, okay, however, this does not show that Smith really know that it is 3 o'clock. So Gettier is try to contest, try to criticize on the justified true belief, okay, where he said that even though it is justified, okay, even though it is really 3 o'clock, the truth is it is 3 o'clock, but actually someone can not really know even after it is being justified. So he contests on the justified true belief theory. And later there are a lot of discussion on the Gettier cases. However, the discussion, the debates come up either with the theory of justified true belief, JTB, plus something, plus F, which is making sure that it does not fall into any fallibilism, or later, after a great discussion, after a great debate, it came back to justification. So the big discussion here still cannot find what is the truth, or how do human can really know something. Okay, as in the conventional worldview, in the conventional knowledge, they cannot understand the true status of human, the true status of the limitations that a human can hold, and the ultimate characteristic of knowledge and of the world. So this is why all this is happening in the conventional aspects of epistemology. Okay, so from there, okay, from the very basics of conventional worldview to the very basics of the conventional epistemology, some of the issues, okay, some of the issues that is being discussed, not only actually by our Muslim scholars, but also from the conventional scholars themselves. Okay, from the conventional scholars themselves. For example, science is not always the ultimate source of knowledge. Okay, even we most of the conventional thinking, they really depend on, or they really focus on the proof, the scientific proof of something, either from experiments, either from experience, either from perception, or from reason, but it is not always the ultimate source. Okay, so there comes some scholars who raise the issue of intuition, raise the issue of the six senses from the Hindu philosophy, and also others. So these are some of the issues among the conventional worldview and also conventional epistemology. And the second one is the anti-dogmatic beliefs, where knowledge or worldview, or the things that we believe or we uphold is supposed to be free from any basic or religious beliefs. Okay, so it is supposed to be neutral from religious belief, from the very basic foundation. So this is not being discussed, but inshallah, for the next class, when we go to the Islamic worldview, inshallah, we will discuss this and compare this with the basic conventional development theories, conventional management theories on this. Okay, especially the modernization theory in development, the secularization theory in development. Okay. The third issue is compartmentalization of knowledge, compartmentalization of how we view our world. Okay, where they even some of them compartmentalize the perception ability of human with the reason ability of human. Okay, whereas in Islam, this is supposed to be integrated together with the very basic knowledge, that is the revealed knowledge. Okay, it is not supposed to be compartmentalized. Also, the view on human being, the view on world, okay, it is supposed to be integrated and being perceived in a comprehensive and holistic manner. Okay, and the final one is the ultimate aim of knowledge. The ultimate aim of knowledge is actually to find the truth. To find the truth, and it's supposed. So this is not being discussed in the conventional epistemology. In fact, the ultimate aim of the worldview perceived in conventional thinking, or the epistemological, is basically on how we can prove how human, with the ability of human, can prove something. Okay, can prove something. So if it is cannot be justified or cannot be proved, so it is being dismissed or not being considered as knowledge. So this is what happening in the conventional epistemology and also worldview. So if you go back to our development management discussion, for instance, okay, last time I already discussed on the linear growth model, which has been introduced by Rostow, okay, where development have 5 stages that should be achieved. Okay, So from the worldview point of view, or from the epistemological point of view, this model, this very basic model of development actually can be contested, because development, how can development be achieved through a very basic or very linear sequence of stages? Okay, it cannot always happen. And the model measures development solely by the increase of GDP. So we can always, something can always happen where it can disrupt the linear growth model. For example, the very good example is our pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, okay, where even the most strong country could not deal with this pandemic, with what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala have gave us, okay, how to deal with it. So the growth cannot always be linear, okay, and the ultimate aim also, okay, in the growth model, focus on consumption, where now we can see the shortcomings, okay, where we did not really look into the welfare of or the health of the population, okay. And the second one, the Homo economicus concept in development management now, where they always they focus on extrinsic motivation, okay, without discuss more, or without taking into account the intrinsic motivation. This is the reason being is because of the worldview, because of the compartmentalization of human itself. Okay, so the unseen problems, for example, our nafs, our level of iman, were not being discussed, were not being solved properly when discussed on this problem. Be it the ethics and accountability of the actors of development. So from this, okay, it creates so many problems in development and also in management, because all it comes from the worldview and also the epistemology. So inshallah, okay, we are supposed to look into and understand on how Islam, from the Islamic worldview, from the Islamic epistemology, could overcome or could give a more beautiful model of development management, inshallah. So with this, I would like to give our brother Shahran back.
Thank you so much, Prof. I think the discussion on justified belief very interesting. We have heard many speakers before on epistemology, not many discussing in detail about this. This the argument that all the, what do you call it, common people or the common sense. So we invite all our friends. I can unmute everyone. Want to ask question directly or I see Prof. Fatah there, Fatah Santoso, I see Khalid Nuruddin. Prof, do you want to add something? Prof. Fatah. Theodore brother Nick Yusof. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So can you read that, Brother Nuruddin question? Fadzila?
Okay, yeah. All right. For example, the one discussed by Weber. For example, time benchmark often refers to the time. Okay, this is different. Okay, you can use different worldviews at the same time. Okay. Thank you for this question, brother, is it Professor Dr. Nuruddin? Okay. This is where okay, the worldview, okay, how we view time, okay, how we view time. This is where we can identify the very basic difference between the Western worldview and the Islamic worldview. Okay, the Western worldview will look at time as something that it comes to us and then it goes, okay, it passes us. So basically time is being perceived as something that is very limited, or something that is that we should manage properly, but they seldom, or they do not discuss on the barakah of time at all. Okay, this is where because they only look time at the very superficial or physical aspect. They do not see that time can also, it has a very qualitative, or the non-physical, non-tangible aspect. We can have 24 hours a day, but we can do work more than 24 hours a day if our time is barakah. That is the main difference between the worldview of Islam and the Western worldview. Okay, so when we look at time, okay, sometimes people, they have 24 hours, they really work very hard, but still they find it, they don't have enough time. Okay, but if we look back to our Muslim scholars, the early Muslim scholars, how from their 40 to 50 years of life, they can produce so many kitab, so many big books, which we can benefit until now. Even me, myself, I can only produce so far a thesis. As compared to our Imam Ghazali, Imam Shafi'i, they can produce so many books, big books, with so many additions, so many beneficial knowledge. So that is the difference between how we view time and how the Western view time. Okay, even though, yeah, it is mechanical. So here I would like to stress that it is not that in Islamic epistemology and Islamic worldview, it's not that we completely shut down the perception knowledge, the reason knowledge. Okay, it is also, if you look at the Quran, there are so many ayah where Allah asks us to think. Allah asks us to tafakkur. Allah also asks us to come up with a witness, okay, the empirical aspect. But we do not, we have our basic knowledge, that is the revealed knowledge. That is what being lack in the Western society, or Western worldview, or Western epistemology. Okay, Brother Shahran.
The next one about the metaphysics. What can you say about?
Okay, metaphysics. Usually the discussion on metaphysics can be related to the ontological discussion, the theory of reality. Okay, the theory of reality. As being shown just now, since the worldview mainly relate to the ones that is being experienced by human beings, the one that is being perceived as reality by human beings. So the world is always assumed as what is being the physical aspects. The hereafter, or even the our life before world, where we have qalu bala shahidna, is also being it's not being discussed in the Western worldview. Okay. All right.
Prof, said, but try and error, is that one source of knowledge in Western epistemology?
Basically, yes. That is why the main source of knowledge actually from the Western worldview or Western epistemology is actually experiments. They will try and try. Okay, from the management aspects, we have the Houghton studies. Okay, the Houghton studies done by Elton Mayo. This experiment is actually it takes about 10 to 15 years, I think, to understand how to make the employees produce more. So they try on the lighting, they try on the break hours to understand, and later come up to knowledge. Okay, the things that can make the workers more productive is by this level of lighting, by this break hours. So yeah, the try and error is always happening in the Western epistemology.
Okay. Next one by Saza Halima.
Okay, the lack of unity in the Muslim Ummah. So, okay, what has been said by our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, worldview, when it comes to the very basic knowledge or very basic foundation, especially relating to Aqidah, it should be the same. It should not be different. But when it comes to the branches of knowledge, okay, the muamalah, the munakahah, the syariah, and also the akhlaq part. So it is actually a blessing for difference among the ummah.
And the last one from Brother Nuruddin, Shumasha, small of beautiful.
Okay, inshallah, I will get back to this in our next lecture. Is it possible, Brother Shahid?
Okay, Prof, thank you so much. I think this issue of epistemology has become a very central issue now. In fact, in our Islamization effort, since there are authors who are disagree about this term Islamization, so now we are more focused on this epistemology, epistemology and curriculum reform. So we are more of theory of knowledge and how we know. So inshallah, hopefully scholars and all of us can deal more deeply in this issue. Especially what you have present to us is very important, very significant. I hope more scholars can come forward to explain how we know what are the limitations that the Western have imposed on us. Thank you so much, Prof. Any last word for tonight?
Thank you so much for all the, I think, 22 participants just now for listening. And inshallah, I will share to Brother Shahran the slide. Is it, do you want the slide, is it?
Yeah,
okay, inshallah.
We will forward to everyone.
So the last slide will be my contact. So if you have any more questions, or even if you have any input, you can always contact me, inshallah. Thank you so much.
Okay, everyone. See you next class. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.